what? I've spent a lifetime in this business, and not once have I ever wondered if the owner of the franchise was actually in charge. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Rays 3, Pirates 1 yesterday at PNC Park. I was over there covering it for DK Pittsburgh Sports. I've also, not coincidentally, covered that exact same game. Oh, it feels like 50 times already this summer. But then that's how it goes. Paul Skeens pitches lights out. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. His final pitch, his 98th and final pitch, registers 101.5 miles per hour. That has 29,000 people standing and roaring both before and after. Just a wonderful thing to ... waste, because all of the offense, again, for the second time in 5 days, came via solo home run from Brian Reynolds. Only this time, unlike the 1-0 victory on the other occasion, somehow 1 run wasn't enough. On the most recent episode of Daily Shot last Friday, I shared with you some original reporting I'd done that the people at the very top of the Pirates' power structure are feeling that moves need to be made to improve the offense. I also shared with you in this original reporting that that sentiment isn't necessarily shared by those in baseball ops. Well, the individual running the former is no less than Bob Nutting, chairman of the board, owner of the franchise. And the person presiding over the latter is, of course, Ben Cherington. So, later that day, Nutting meets with reporters at PNC Park and shares publicly exactly what I'd reported, which is that he recognizes that the offense is a significant shortcoming. He feels that that offense needs to be addressed, if not internally, then externally. And then he went on to offer some kind of couching for why Cherington hadn't already done such a thing. But I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit uncomfortable, which was kind of what I was getting at with you in that original reporting that I referenced. Now, okay, flash forward, we go to Saturday, the next day, and Cherington meets with the media at PNC Park in what's now becoming something of a regular event. And he basically turns it into a rattling off reasons that he can't do anything yet or doesn't want to do anything yet. This isn't the time of year. It's an odd year in the sense that there are a lot of teams, including the Pirates, that are packed into a tight space for the National League wild card. Everybody thinks they're still in it. Everybody wants to be a buyer. Nobody wants to be a seller. And he even singled out offense as saying this is something that everybody wants because offense is down across Major League Baseball, which it is. And all of those things, to some extent, if you ignore the fact that you can still make trades, you just have to be a little bit more aggressive than everybody else, until you kind of step back from it all and realize that what he's saying, without saying it, is no. I don't even know what's happening here. But that's what it is. It's not Bob's right. We'll get right on it. When the owner speaks, we move. It was just all kinds of word salad to say no. Look, I'm not going to sit here and do hypothetical trades. I can tell you that they do exist. They do happen this time of year, though they're uncommon. But as I see it, the Pirates in general, and this has been true of this front office as it was with the previous front office, they like to think of themselves as one of the 30. When they see the Yankees doing stuff, they see the Dodgers doing stuff, they like to think of themselves as playing the same game. They're not. The sport is inherently and grossly unfair because of the lack of a salary cap. So for anyone anywhere to say, nobody does this, who does this, look at this situation, look at that situation, tell me where else this happens, I couldn't care less. Here's what I do know. Skeens pitches for Pittsburgh right now. He's healthy. He's striking everybody out. He's had 8 starts of 3 earned runs or less. He's nothing less than a mega star in the making. He's here now. Jared Jones is here now. Mitch Keller, better than ever, is still here, and he's here, by the way, for the foreseeable future, thanks to the long-term commitment that was made to him this past spring. Even if we get into depth, Bailey Falter's 4th on the list, and he's someone who could seriously be in a discussion for the All-Star game in a typical year. There's a little bit of a problem with the bridge between the starters and the back end of the bullpen, but the back end of the bullpen, with apologies to Colin Holderman having had a rare hiccup yesterday, has been very good. As many people have now referenced, across the baseball world, if you put the Pirates into a best of 3, which is what the wild card is now, or a best of 5 or a best of 7 or whatever it is, but especially those shorter series, they'd be favored against almost anybody. Or they'd at least be given a strong chance to get through it because of the reality that they'd be able to outpitch anybody. And that tends to be what wins in the playoffs. Small obstacle in the path, though, gotta get in. Can't get in if the GM doesn't recognize the concept of urgency, as in urgency now. He's still playing the same game that everybody else is, instead of saying, you know what, I could get a jump on the Cubs and the Mets and all these other teams that are wrapped around us on both sides. If I could just go get a bat now, it doesn't have to be a great bat, just a bat that's a little bit better than what I have. And guess what? Those are available because it's pretty much anyone who can breathe. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Michael in Australia, who says, so DK, the big question that's left now is, what do? Do they swing for the fences? Do they trade for someone like Luis Robert? Do they pay the price, like sending out a Leo Verpagero, Bubba Chandler, or another prospect to get him? Is there a less ambitious trade that could be made, like bringing back Starling Marte or Josh Bell, plus some better middle relievers? What's your opinion on this? Well, I'll tell you this, Michael, that without getting into all kinds of, fake names and hypothetical moves, my feeling in general is that contrary to the most common baseball roster building sentiment of them all, you actually can have too much starting pitching, meaning when your starting pitching is phenomenal and you have next to no hitting at all. Only recently, the hottest commodity on any trade market, even at the deadlines, was young starting pitching, and that included at the prospect level. You'll recall, in fact, that both Neil Huntington and Ben Cherington have had difficulty getting that off other teams when they were executing their own rebuilds. And while that's not necessarily the case as much anymore, there's still value there. When other teams scout a system and see Chandler and Braxton Ashcraft and Anthony Solomito and others, they might not be getting floored the way they would have with Paul Skeens or Jared Jones, but they're going to see value, they're going to see upside, and they're going to believe, not without cause, that they have a much better chance of getting more out of these prospects than the Pirates have or will. Heck, even if they're wrong, they'll believe that. So it's there to be had. The trade is there to be had. Hitters are available. Starting pitching prospects are coveted. And all you got to do is put 2 and 2 together. I'm not nearly as antsy about whether or not it's a good trade as some people seem to be, and as Cherington and his staff absolutely are. To me, it's not about winning the trade. It's about winning the game that's being played right in front of you. It's about winning toward having a winning season, meaning getting into the playoffs so that you can win playoff games. Those also are wins. I'm going to throw a hockey story at you here to conclude the day, but Craig Patrick, the Hall of Fame general manager of the Penguins during their first 2 Stanley Cup championship runs, between those 2 championships, traded Mark Recchi to the Flyers, the rival Flyers. And as he has often said, he knew he was trading a future Hall of Famer at a very young age, but he got 1, 2, 3 players back: Rick Tocchet, Shel Samuelson, Ken Reggett, all of whom contributed significantly toward that second Cup run. Hugely, actually. And as Patrick has said many times, you make that 100 times out of 100 because you're trying to win the championship. That is the goal. He knew he'd lose the trade and didn't care. But then he's competitive. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates, and we'll do another one of these tomorrow.